Assalamualaikum, brother. You have the slides up? Assalamualaikum, brother. Can you hear me?
Assalamualaikum. Yes, I do. Do you hear me?
Yes. Can you share your screen of the slides?
Host, I'm disabled.
You should have it now.
Okay. Okay, I think you have it.
Bismillah, Daniel.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم إني أسألك برحمتك التي وسعت كل شيء وبقوتك التي قهرت بها وخزلها كل شيء وذللها كل شيء وبجبروتك التي طلبت بها كل شيء وبعزتك التي لا يقوم لها شيء وبعظمتك التي ملأت كل شيء وبسلطانك الذي على كل شيء وبوجهك الباقي بعد فناء كل شيء وبأسمائك التي ملأت أركان كل شيء وبعلمك الذي أحاط بكل شيء وبنور وجهك الذي أضاء له كل شيء يا نور يا قدوس يا نور يا قدوس يا نور يا قدوس يا أول الأولين ويا آخر الآخرين اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تحرق الإثم اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تنزل النكام اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تغير النعم اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تحبس الدعاء اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تنزل البلاء اللهم اغفر لكل ذنب أذنبته وكل خطيئة أخطأتها اللهم إني أتقرب إليك بذكرك وأستشفع بك إلى نفسك وأسألك بجودك أن تدنيني من قربك وأن توزعني شكرك وأن تلهمني ذكرك اللهم إني أسألك سؤال خاطئ متذلل خاشع أن تسامحني وترحمني وتجعلني بك اسمك راضيا قانعا وفي جميع الأحوال متواضعا اللهم وأسألك سؤال من استدت طاقته وأنزل بك عند الشدائد حاجتها وأزم فيما عندك رغبته اللهم عظم سلطانه وعلى مكانه وخفي مكروك وزهر أمرك وغلب قهرك وجرت قدرتك ولا يمكن الفرار من حكومتك اللهم لا أجد لذنوبي غافرا ولا لقبائه ساترا ولا لشيء من عمل قبيح بالحسن مبدلا خيرا لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك وبحمدك ظلمت نفسي ظلمت نفسي ظلمت نفسي وتجرأت بجهلي وسكنت إلى قديم ذكرك لي ومنك علي اللهم مولاي كم من قبيح سترت وكم من فادح من البلاء أكلت وكم من إصار وكيت وكم من مكروه دفعت وكم من ثناء جميل لست أهلا له نشرت اللهم عزم بلائي وأفرت بي سوء حالي وكسرت بي أعمالي وقدأت بي أغلالي وحبسني عن نفعي بعد آمالي وخدتني الدنيا بغرورها ونفسي بجنايتها ومثالي يا سيدي فأسألك بعزتك أن لا يحجب عنك دعائي سوء عملي وفعالي ولا تفضحني بخفي ما اطلعت عليه من سري ولا تعاجلني بالعقوبة على ما عملته في خلواتي من سوء فعلي وإساءتي ودوام تفريطي وجهالتي وكسرة شهواتي وغفلتي وكن اللهم بعزتك في كل الأحوال رؤوفا ولي في جميع الأمور أتوفا إلهي وربي من لي غيره أسأله كشف ضري والنظر في أمري إلهي ومولاي أجريت علي حكما اتبعت فيه هوى نفسي ولم أحترس فيه من تزيين عدوي فغرني بما أهوى وأسأله على ذلك القضاء فتجاوزت بما جرى علي من ذلك بعد حدوده وخالفت بعض أوامرك فلك الحمد لي في جميع ذلك ولا حجة لي فيما جرى علي فيه قضاءك ولزمني حكمك وبلاؤك وقد أتيتك يا إلهي بعد تقصيري وإسرافي على نفسي معتذرا نادما منكسرا مستكيرا مستغفرا منيبا مقرا مذعنا مؤترفا لا أجد مفرا مما كان مني ولا مهزأ نتوجه إليه في أمري غير قبولك عذري وإدخالك إياي في سعة من رحمتك اللهم فاقبل عذري وارحم شدة ضري وفكني من شد وصاكي يا رب ارحم ضعف بدني يا رب ارحم ضعف بدني يا رب ارحم ضعف بدني ورقة جلدي ودقة عزمي يا من بدأ خلقي وذكري وتربيتي وبري وتزكيتي هبني لابتداء كرمك وصالح برك بي يا إلهي وسيدي وربي أتراك معذبي بنارك بعد توحيدك وبعد ما انطوى عليه قلبي من معرفتك ولا حجابه لساني من ذكرك وعتقده زميلي من حبك وبعد صدق ترافي ودعائي خاضعا لربوبيتك هيهات أنت أكرم من أن تضيع من ربيت أو تبعد من أدنيت أو تشرد من آويت أو تسلم إلى البلاء من كفيته ورحمته وليت شعري يا سيدي وإلهي ومولاي أتسلط النار على وجوه خرت لعظمتك ساجدا وعلى ألسن نتكبر بتوحيدك صادقا وبشكرك مادحا ولا قلوب ترفت بإلهيتك محققا وعلى زمار أحوت من العلم بك حتى صارت خاشعة وعلى جوارها سعت إلى أوطان تعبدك طائعة وشارت باستغفارك مذعنا ما هكذا الظن بك ولا أخبرنا بفضلك عنك يا كريم يا رب يا كريم يا رب يا كريم يا رب وأنت تعلم ضعفي أن قليلا من بلاء الدنيا وعقوباتها وما يجري فيها من المكاره على أهلها على أن ذلك بلاء ومكروه قليل مكسور يسير بقاؤه كثير مدته فكيف احتمالي لبلاء الآخرة وجري لوقوع المكاره فيها وهو بلاء تطول مدته ويدوم مقامه ولا يخفف عن أهله لأنه لا يكون إلا عن غضبك وانتقامك وسخطك وهذا ما لا تقوم له السماوات والأرض يا سيدي فكيف بي وأنا عبدك الضعيف الذليل الحقير المسكين المستكين يا إلهي وربي وسيدي ومولاي أي الأمور إليك أشكو ولما منها زد أبكي لأليم العذاب وشدته أم طول البلاء ومدته فلا إن سيرتني للعقوبات مع أعدائك وجمعت بيني وبين أهل بلائك ففرقت بيني وبين أحبائك وأوليائك فهبني يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي وربي صبرت على عذابك فكيف أصبر على فراقك وهبني صبرت على حر نارك فكيف أصبر أنا نظر إلى كرامتك أم كيف أسكن في النار ورجائي أفوق فبعزتك يا سيدي ومولاي أقسم صادقا لئن تركتني ناتك لأزجن إليك بين أهل هذا الجيل العاملين ولا أصرخن إليك صراخ المستصرخين ولا أبكين عليك بكاء الفاقدين ولا أنادينك أين كنت يا ولي المؤمنين يا غاية آمال العارفين يا غياث المستغيثين يا غياث المستغيثين يا غياث المستغيثين يا حبيب قلوب الصادقين ويا إله العالمين أفتراك سبحانك يا إلهي وبحمدك تسمع فيها صوت عبد مسلم سجن فيها بمخالفته وذاق طعم عذابها بمعصيته وحبس بين أطباقها بجرمه وجريرته وهو يزج إليك زجيج معمل لرحمته ويناديك بلسانه لتوحيدك ويتوسل إليك بربوبيتك يا مولاي فكيف يبقى في العذاب وهو يرجو ما طلب من حلمه أم كيف تؤلمه النار وهو يأمل فضلك ورحمتك أم كيف يهلكه أنت تسمع صوته وترى مكانه أم كيف يشتمل عليه زفيرها وأنت تعلم ضعفا أم كيف يتكلكل بين أطباقها وأنت تعلم صدقا أم كيف تجره زبانيتها وهو يناديك يا رب أم كيف يرجو فضلك في إثمه منها فتتركه فيها هيهات ما ذلك الظن بك ولا المعروف من فضلك ولا مشبه لما عملت به الموحدين من برك وإحسانك فباليقين أخطأ لولا ما حكمت به من تأذيب جاحديك وكزيت به من إخلال معاندي لجلت النار كلها بردا وسلاما وما كان لأحد فيها مكرا ولا مقاما لكنك تقدست أسماؤك أقسمت أن تملأها من الكافرين من الجنة والناس أجمعين وأن تخلد فيها المعاندين وأنت جل ثناؤك قلت مبتدئا وتطولت بالإنعام متكرما أفمن كان مؤمنا كمن كان فاسقا لا يستوون إلهي وسيدي فأسألك بالقدرة التي قدرتها وبالفزية التي حتمتها وحكمتها وغلبت من عليه أجريتها أن تهب لي في هذه الليلة وفي هذه الساعة كل جرم أجرمته وكل ذنب أذنبته وكل كبيح أسرته وكل جهل عملته كتمته أو أعلنته أخفيته أو أظهرته وكل سيئة أمرت بإثباتها الكرام الكاتبين الذين وكلتهم بحفظ ما يكون مني وجعلتهم شهودا علي مع جوارحي وكنت أنت ركيب علي من ورائهم وشاهد لما خفي عنهم وبرحمتك أخفيت وبفضلك سترت وأن توفر حظي من كل خير أنزلت أو إحسان فضلت أو بر نشرت أو رزق بسطت أو ذنب تغفر أو خطأ تستر يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي ومالك ركي يا من بيده ناصيتي يا عليما بالضر ومسكنتي يا خبيرا بفقري وفاقتي يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا ربي يا ربي يا رب أسألك بحقك وقدسك وأعظم صفاتك وأسمائك أن تجعل أوقاتي في الليل والنهار بذكرك مأمورة وبخدمتك موصولة وأعمالي عندك مقبولة حتى تكون أعمالي وأورادي كلها وردا واحدا وحالي في خدمتك سرمدا يا سيدي يا من عليك مؤولي يا من إليه شكوت أحوالي يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا ربي يا ربي يا رب قوي على خدمتك جوارحي واشدد على العزيمة جوارحي وهب لي الجد في خشيتك والدوام في اتصال بخدمتك حتى أسرح إليك في ميادين الصابتين وأسرع إليك في البارزين وأشتاق إلى قربك في المشتاقين وأدنو منك دنو المخلصين وخافك مخافة الموقنين واجتمع في جوارك مع المؤمنين اللهم ومن أرادني بسوء فأرده ومن قادني فكده واجعلني من أحسن عبيدك نصيبا عندك واقربهم منزلة منك وخسهم زلفة لديك فإنه لا ينال ذلك إلا بفضلك وجودني بجودك وعطف علي بمجدك واحفظني برحمتك واجعل لساني بذكرك لهجا وقلبي بحبك متيما ومن علي بحسن إجابتك وكلني أسرتي واغفر ذلتي فإنك كزيت على عبادك بعبادتك وأمرته بدعائك وضمنت لهم الإجابة فإليك يا ربي نسبت وجهي وإليك يا ربي مددت يدي فبعزتك استجب لي دعائي وبلغني مناي ولا تعتأ من فضلك رجائي واكفني شر الجن والإنس من أعدائي يا سريع الرضا يا سريع الرضا يا سريع الرضا اغفر لمن لا يملك إلا الدعاء فإنك فعال لما تشاء يا من اسمه دواء وذكره شفاء وطاعته غنى ارحم من رأس ماله الرجاء وسلاحه البقاء يا سابق النعم يا دافع النكم يا نور المستوحشين في الظلام يا عالما لا يعلم صل على محمد وآل محمد وافعل بما أنت أهله وصلى الله على رسوله والأئمة الميامين من آله وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا.
اللهم صل على محمد. Thank you so much for that, Daniel. السلام عليكم يا جماعة.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله.
السلام عليكم. بسم الله. I think it's 9:41.
أعوذ
We're
بالله
ready.
من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وآله الطاهرين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. I would first like to express my congratulations to the dear brothers and sisters on this blessed day of the Eid and Wilada of Imam al-Rada alayhi salam. There are programs being held across the world these days, alhamdulillah. And although we're in the middle of this global challenge these days, yet everyone's heart is what this pandemic cannot do is to cage up the hearts of the believers, and so their hearts are flying these days to the Haram of Imam al-Rada alayhi salam in Mashhad. Inshallah, everything goes back to normal again, and the believers can once again visit the Holy Imam, inshallah. With that, I would like to begin tonight's session of Tafsir of Nahjul Balagha. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. الخطبة الثالثة والعشرون. أيها الناس إنه لا يستغني الرجل وإن كان ذا مال عن عترته ودفاعهم عنه بأيديهم وألسنتهم. Continuing with this 23rd khutbah of Nahjul Balagha. In this khutbah, if you remember, the Imam was addressing two groups of people amongst the Muslims. The first group is the group that is maybe struggling, maybe is not as well off as others. And he made a point there. He said, look, now that you are in this situation, try your best to do what you need to do. Just because you see your brother or sister in faith, they have more than you. They have an abundance over you and compared to you, don't let that be your fitna, that which takes you down. As a matter of fact, now this is my wording, change this threat into an opportunity. Change this problem and challenge to an opportunity. Opportunity for what? Well, the Imam, he says, do what you're supposed to do and keep Allah in mind. Don't do khiyana and turn away from the deen and religious teachings in regards to your brother or sister who might have more than you. Don't let jealousy get the best of you. Things like that. If you do that, then one of two good things is awaiting you. Either life or death, whichever one comes. In both cases, you will be felicious and you will be delivered. In addition to having your faith as well, along with whatever Allah blesses you with. Anyway, that was covered in previous sessions. And the Imam, he goes on, he says a few more things, and in the end of the first part, I would say, although before I said I like to, cut this khutbah up into different parts. Right now, going back to it, I feel like there are two main portions. The first portion is when he is addressing those who might not be doing very good compared to others. The second portion is when he addresses those who are doing good actually and are well off. So in the end of that first portion where he's addressing those who might be struggling, those who might not be as good, doing as good as others. In the end, he says, "Nas'alullah manazil al-shuhada'i wa mu'ayashat al-su'ada wa murafaqat al-anbiya." That we ask Allah for these things. And it seems that the Imam, what he's implying here, indirectly telling everybody, okay, people who are struggling, look, this is what we should be after. Don't worry about who has what. Try your best, put your reliance in Allah, and at the same time, remember that we're after such stations, the station of the shuhada, and to live with the su'ada, those who were delivered, yes, the righteous ones, and to also be in the company of the anbiya, the prophets. This is what really matters. Now, having said all of that though, in this khutbah now the Imam turns to those who might be doing good now, financially, let's say. They are enjoying that abundance that others might not be enjoying. Okay, what happens here is that first things first, we need to remember that the Imam was speaking to the believers. He's not speaking to those who have unjustly amassed wealth or anything like that. No, he's addressing believers. In the beginning of the khutbah, it said, إِذَا رَأَى أَحَدُكُمْ لِأَخِيهِ غَفِيرَةً. If any one of you sees his brother, or sister with an abundance of, wealth and possession and all of that. So the wording he had used is لِأَخِيهِ, his brother or sister, not like some zalim tyrant ruler or something, no. Or someone who amasses wealth through haram means. No, he was speaking about those who are good people, and they're well off compared to others. So here he turns his attention to those people now, who are doing good, who are well off, and he has some words of advice for them as well. And this is where I would like to say that I would draw the line here in this khutbah and say this is the second part of the khutbah actually. He says, Ayyuhan nas. He's going to speak to the wealthy now. He's not going to scold them or anything for being wealthy. No, he's giving them advice though. He's going to remind them of one or two things that are important. And it's interesting. What he reminds them of isn't necessarily relevant to their akhirah even. It's relevant even to their dunya, mostly actually to their dunya. He says, أيها الناس إنه لا يستغني الرجل. O أغنياء, O wealthy ones. Remember, لا يستغني الرجل. A person is not free from and is still in need of عن عترته, of his family. And that, when it says itra here, according to when we go by the context here, you can tell he's talking about even the extended family of an individual, blood relatives, let's call it. Okay. He says, look, a person, no matter how much wealth they have, وَإِنْ كَانَ ذَا مَالٍ, even if he has wealth, is still in need of his itra or her itra. Yes, their family. Why? وَدِفَاعِهِمْ عَنْهُ بِأَيْدِيهِمْ وَأَلْسِنَتِهِمْ. Yes, they are in need of their family and relatives' aid when it comes to defending them, taking care of them with their hands, physical force, or al-sinatihim, their help, their aid, their support with their tongues. Okay? No matter how much wealth a person has, no matter how much money a person has, no matter how much whatever they have, if they don't have people working for them, helping them out, and I don't want to say working for them, supporting them, yes, because their hearts are with that person. Yes, and usually when you're a relative, when there's a blood relation between two people, usually, yes, there is that inclination, there is that mutual love. Yes, and so as a result of that, these people will always stand up for each other. The Imam, he says this, he says, they need their help. Even today, when you watch some of the most incompetent officials of the world and presidents of the world, when you watch them, no matter how much wealth they have, in the end, they need their media outlets. They need their PR people to make them look good. So I'm not saying that's what the Imam is saying here, but the point the Imam makes is an important one. Look, no matter how well off you are, you can't do everything on your own. You can't keep everyone happy on your own. You can't, maintain your image on your own even. So he says he needs their help. He needs them to defend him and stand up for him, physically sometimes, and sometimes verbally. Yes. وهم أعظم الناس حيطة من ورائه وألمهم لشعثه or لشعثه وأعطفهم عليه عند نازلة إذا نزلت به. I'm hoping that in the 21st century, what Imam Ali says holds still, because he's speaking about the family, he's speaking about blood relatives and all of that, right? In the 21st century, this kind of has weakened to an extent. It's not a good thing. Now, if there are people who don't come from an Islamic background, who are not Muslim, that's different. They have their own culture. But the Muslims should not reach a point where what we're going to go through tonight is not going to be applicable to them. right? Now here he says, look, it is the blood relatives. It is the blood relatives that are three things, have three things. Number one, أعظم الناس حيطة من ورائه. They're the ones who can have his back the best. حيطة comes from إحاطة. إحاطة means to surround something. Yeah. So here it says min wara'ihi means from behind him, to surround him from behind him. I like to say they have his back. Yeah. They're the best ones to have his back. Number one. Right? Number two, ألمهم لشعاثه. We also have similar wording in dua iftitah. وَالْمُمْ بِهِ شَعْثَنَا or شَعَثَنَا. That, oh Allah, through Sahib al-Zaman, Ajjalallah Farajahu Sharif, wa alayhi salatu wassalam, yes, we want you to bring us together through him. We're in pieces. Bring us together through him. Here the same wording is used. It says blood relatives, your family, your itra, are the ones who alammuhum li sha'afihi. They're the best ones who can pick up your pieces. You know, when you break into pieces, they're the ones who can collect you, bring you back together. Yes, put you back together again. Number two. Now, why that is the case, I mean, I think if someone thinks about it, it will click. Yes, because these people know exactly, usually it's the blood relatives, the closer relatives that know what you're all about, know your sensitivities, know your weak points, know your strong points. When you do get broken, they know what to do to bring you back again and revive you, because they know exactly how you are. Every person is different, brothers and sisters. No matter how close of a friend I am to somebody, yes, I haven't spent 20, 30 years with them like I have with my brother or sister, right? Or with an uncle or aunt or whatever. Yes, once again, there are exceptions to this rule. There are some relatives out there who might not even speak to each other and things like that. But that's a different story. Imam Ali is giving us the rule right now. There might be some exceptions, and that's unfortunate if there are exceptions to that, negative exceptions to this rule. وَأَعْطَفُهُمْ عَلَيْهِ عِنْدَ نَازِلَةٍ إِذَا نَزَلَتْ بِهِ. Yes, and they are the most sympathetic, I'll say, or the most caring when something, a tragedy, a hardship befalls this person. At the end of the day, yes, it is the relatives. It's much easier for them to sympathize with you, to feel what you're going through, and to be with you in those hard, tough times. Yes. Now, once again, I'll say it. There are some relatives out there. In Farsi, we have a saying that "Soyaya hamdigaru batir mizanan." That means they shoot each other's shadow with bullets. Like, they don't like each other so much that not only can they not stand each other, they can't even stand each other's shadow. So if they see each other's shadow, they're going to shoot at it, let alone the person themselves. Now here, once again, the rule is this though. Usually, it's the case that the most kind, the most caring, and the most sympathetic, especially when a hardship befalls an individual, yes, are who? Are the person's relatives, are the person's family. Yes. Then the Imam wants to make a point, right? He's saying all of this to make a point that we'll get to, that the question is this: if I have relatives like that, and I have relatives that are struggling amongst them, but I don't help them out, can I expect for them to help me out? As we go on, you'll see the Imam, he puts two conditions. Number one, he says relative, friend, and all of that. And I do have something to say about that later. I will explain also. That is it only limited to, blood relatives, or is it more than that? But he says, look, blood relative plus you doing good to that person. Yes, al-insan abidul ihsan. Yeah, the saying goes that the insan, the human being, is the slave of the favors that others do that person, the good that they do for that person, the ihsan that they do for that person. Once you do ihsan for someone, usually you have captivated them. They're all yours. Now, depending on what that ihsan is, sometimes you give somebody a piece of gum, sometimes you help them with their homework, sometimes they are in debt and you help them out. Sometimes you support them in one way or another. All of these are different, but at the end of the day, al-insan abidul ihsan, the saying goes. And in every family, when we look, we find that this is the case. You will always have some of those relatives who are doing better versus those who are not doing as good. And if this was the case, that each looks for after the other, and I've seen personally back home, I've seen this myself in families where they will have each other's back. One relative has the other's back financially. That person has this person's back in other ways. Sometimes that person is well off. That person needs help in certain areas, and they show up. The relatives show up. Yeah. So if this was the case, every family was taking care of each other like that, a lot of these problems in the world, I think, would be resolved. And this is not something I say. I've seen others say it too. And then if that is taken care of, it reaches a point where the global family even can take care of each other. But of course, we are a long and far away from that. So I don't know when that's going to be happening. It doesn't look like it's going to be happening anytime soon. People don't really, unfortunately, care what happens in other parts of the world. Anyway, there's in his letter they say to Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba, the Imam, he also has this line: وَأَكْرِمْ عَشِيرَتَكَ. Honor your ashira, your family, your relatives, your tribe. Usually in tribes, everyone's related, right? فَإِنَّهُمْ جَنَاحُكَ. This is not part of this khutbah. This is from another saying of Imam Ali, or letter of Imam Ali. فَإِنَّهُمْ جَنَاحُكَ الَّذِي بِهِ تَطِيرُ. Look, your ashira, your tribe, your relatives, your family are your wings that you fly with. وَأَسْلُكَ الَّذِي إِلَيْهِ تَصِيرُ. And your origin and roots that you go back to eventually. Like when you have nowhere else to go, you have them to go to. وَيَدُكَ الَّتِي بِهَا تَصُولُ. They are your hand that you do things with and get stuff done with. Yes? This is how the Imam looks at things. Yes, we are all brothers and sisters in faith, true. But the Imam puts his finger on this fact, this matter. Blood relations, ashira, itra, and things like that. But can we take a step back, generalize a little bit more, and say this also applies to brothers and sisters in faith? Well, brothers and sisters, I want to say this, that from this khutbah, the Imam specifically has put his finger on blood relatives, right? But there is room, it seems, to generalize a little bit more, because at the end of the day, what brings people together, yes, is blood, but sometimes blood won't do it. Blood relations won't do it. There will be blood relatives who have problems with each other. Yes, major problems with each other. But faith usually is what really brings people together. Yes, and so if that's the case, then maybe we can say that we can go a step further now, and not just say my direct family or my distant family. Maybe we can go out of that even and say not even blood relatives, but those friends, those brothers and sisters in faith even. What the Imam is saying applies to them. But that is a bit of a leap, because the wording that the Imam is using is very clear here. It's itra and it's things like that. So having said that, let's continue now. What is the result of a person who takes care of those that are around him, of relatives that might be in need? The Imam says, وَلِسَانُ الصِّدْقِ يَجْعَلُهُ اللَّهُ لِلْمَرْءِ فِي النَّاسِ خَيْرٌ لَهُ مِنَ الْمَالِ يَرِثُهُ غَيْرُهُ. He hits the nail on the head here, the Imam. He says, look, you can either keep everything to yourself, not help anybody else out, okay? And even if they're your relatives, and save that wealth that you like so much. That's one thing you can do. Another thing you can do though is to use that wealth for others, especially your blood relatives, and help them out. Right? So the first reason you should do this is because they will have your back. We covered that. The Imam is pointing out a second point here. A second reason why a person should do this and have such an outlook. Because either the wealth will stay with you, you keep it to yourself, you don't let it go out to others, even if they're your blood relatives, or no, you let it go a little bit. You loosen the sack a little bit, let that money, yes, come out of that bag or sack that you have. But as a result, what happens? لِسَانُ الصِّدْقِ يَجْعَلُهُ اللَّهُ لِلْمَرْءِ. You leave, or let's not even say you leave, a good name Allah leaves behind for you, for this person who generously gives to those who need of his relatives. لِسَانُ الصِّدْقِ. What happens is when a person dies, for example, the wealth that they have distributed, the wealth that they've kept to themselves will forcefully, yes, leave their possession. I mean, the guy is dead, so he doesn't possess anything anymore. It's the akhirah ahead of him. Yes, there's nothing from behind. He can't bring anything with him. He's left it all behind. And so what this person has to do now is worry about the akhirah. Others are going to worry about his dunya now. That wealth that he was keeping to himself, right, is going to forcefully be distributed amongst his inheritors. Now you tell me, brothers and sisters, when a person has kept it all to themselves, okay, kept it all to themselves, and forcefully by the law of Islam and this person's death, it's distributed, do you think anyone's going to care about that person? Is anyone going to even speak, about that person highly after they're dead? They're dead. As a matter of fact, I remember still back home years ago, when someone passes away, they'll have posters like they'll put in different places in mosques and stuff that, there's a Yusal Sawab and recite a Fatah for him. He passed away. There's this one guy, old man, you could tell he passed away. His picture was on the flyer. And so people were telling me, the Qummis there, those who were original Qummis, not people who have come from abroad or from outside of Qum to study, but no, Qummis themselves who lived in Qum, they were telling me, they're like, yeah, this guy, you know how much property he has? Like some of the best property in Safaiyya and those places, those of you who've been to Qum and know about it, Safaiyya and Dur al-Shahr and those places, where things can get a little expensive in the middle of the city. Yeah, he had all these properties. Now he's dead, and he wasn't really giving it to anybody. And apparently there was, some disputes over those lands too, but he wasn't giving it to nobody until he passed away. Now that he's gone, he has no choice. He's gone. And so now this stuff is forcefully going to be divided amongst his inheritors. Yeah, some big money was passed out, right, to the inheritors, or big assets. Now anyway, point I want to make is this. Do you think people are going to even speak about that person anymore? Nobody cares about him. Because what he did there is no merit in it. It forcefully, by God and by the law of God and by death, what this person had was now distributed amongst others. That's one thing. But there are some who, in their lifetime, they do what they need to do. As a result, Allah leaves them a good name after them. This is very important, by the way. Allah is in the equation. Allah is in the equation here. It's different than your normal everyday, oh, he left a good name of himself. No. Allah, when Allah gives you a good name, we'll talk about this more. I'll give you some Quranic examples. It's different than when you've done something on your own to leave a good name. Yes? All right, so what are those examples that I want to give you? Because some people, unfortunately, I think they have a misunderstanding of Islam here, based on what you find in hadiths or the du'as of Sahifa Sajjadiyya, or even verses that I'm about to share with you. You see that you find that what others think of you is actually kind of important. The only time you don't care about what others think is when you have to do something for Allah's satisfaction, others are going to be dissatisfied. All right, that's different. Yeah. With in such cases, the Quran says that لا تأخذهم لومة لائم. The scolding of anyone who's going to scold them doesn't matter to them, doesn't get to them. The ones who do what? They do what they need to do because Allah wants that to happen now. Yes, these people, they don't care, and it's right that they don't care. They're doing the right thing by not caring what others think, because right now there's a clash between what Allah wants and what they want. That is a different story. But in normal circumstances, lots of times you'll find believers not really caring too much what others think. Yes, and sometimes even not doing something to maintain their own image. But when you look in the du'as of Sahifa Sajjadiyya, like in Dua 20 of Sahifa, Makarim al-Akhlaq, or other du'as, or other verses of Quran even, you find that no, even your name, your image is something that's important to uphold and to take care of. Yeah? And so this idea of the akhirah only matters the dunya, who cares about the dunya? No, not really, or else the Quran wouldn't have such verses that I'm about to share. For example, Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam, in Surah Shu'ara, verse 84, it says that he said, وَاجْعَلْ لِي لِسَانَ صِدْقٍ فِي الْآخِرِينَ. Oh Allah, leave a good name behind for me among those who come after me. Yes, and look at that. Till today, Prophet Ibrahim, not only in Islam, but in all Abrahamic faiths, I mean, we call those faiths Abrahamic faiths. Yeah, he is revered to the highest extent. Yeah, we have, for example, Surah Maryam, verse 50, where the verse is speaking about a group of the Anbiya and the prophets of God. It says, وَجَعَلْنَا لَهُمْ لِسَانَ صِدْقٍ عَلِيًّا. We left a nice, good name and a lofty, high name for them. Yes, we left that name for them. Okay, well, is this a blessing then? Yeah, of course it is, or else Allah wouldn't be speaking about it. Am I right? So these types of verses and other ones that are very similar to these. For example, Surah Safat has 3 verses, or let's say 6 verses actually, 3 sets of verses, of 2 verses each, that are very similar to each other in different parts of Surah Safat. Safat 78 to 80, Safat 108 to 110, and Safat 129 to 131. Same wording about different prophets. وَتَرَكْنَا عَلَيْهِ فِي الْآخِرِينَ. Yes, we left a good name for him, yet amongst those who came and followed. سَلَامٌ عَلَى نُوحٍ فِي الْعَالَمِينَ. Salams upon, salutations, peace be upon Nuh. Yes, this is awesome. Like, Prophet Nuh isn't alive anymore when this verse is being revealed. Salamun ala Nuh. Who cares? Allah's peace upon Nuh. Inna kadhalika najzil muhsinin. This is how we reward the righteous ones, the ones who did good, the muhsinin, the ones who do ihsan. This, by what? How? Leaving a good name behind. Oh, so it's a blessing? I thought it doesn't care what others, I thought it doesn't matter what others think. I thought what only matters is what Allah thinks. Well, Allah apparently cares what others think too. Or else he would say, don't worry about people and what they think at all. Yes? Let the whole world hate you. Who cares? Let the whole world hate you. I love you. He says, no, I left a good name behind of you. So salamun ala nuhin fil alameen. What another, the second set. وَتَرَكْنَا عَلَيْهِ فِي الْآخِرِينَ. Once again, the same exact wording. Salamun ala Ibrahim. That one was Nuh, this is Ibrahim. كَذَلِكَ نَجْزِي الْمُحْسِنِينَ. This is how we reward them. Again, the exact same wording. And then finally, وَتَرَكْنَا عَلَيْهِ فِي الْآخِرِينَ سَلَامٌ عَلَى إِلْيَاسِينَ. Prophet Ilyas. Inna kadhalika najzil muhsinin. So we have, I think I went through 5 or 6 verses, yes, that are bringing this concept up. That yes, and I'm sorry, it wasn't sets of 2 verses, it was 3 sets of 3 verses each. So that was a mistake I made. They're all speaking about leaving a good name behind. Now here, the Imam points this out to those who have those blood relatives, yes, that and how they should take care of them. Why? First reason was what? The first reason was that those are the ones who can take care of you and stand up for you. But the second reason is because it will leave a good name behind. Unlike the ones who keep their wealth to themselves, what happens in the end? Forcefully by death, yes, their wealth will be inherited by others. And not only will they not be remembered in a good way, people probably lots of times are going to be like, okay, alhamdulillah, he died. May Allah bless him, he's dead. Alhamdulillah. No, we got what we needed now. They might not even say it, but practically that's what's happening. And that's why in other khutbahs of Nahjul Balagha or hadiths, we have this idea of the Imams or the Prophet ﷺ saying, like, hey, you're like killing yourself for dunya, but it's going to just turn into irth, an inheritance for those who come after you. In other words, like, don't put all your eggs in this basket, because somebody else going to steal that basket. He's going to take that basket. He's going to have their hands on it later, and you're not going to get anything from it, right? So keep a balance between dunya and akhirah. Anyway, so this is the second reason why. Now, Mufassirin have listed 3 or 4, or maybe even more reasons why it's good to leave a good a good name behind. Yes. I'm going to cover 4 or maybe 5 if anything else comes to my mind. But 4 come to mind. Number 1, well, first of all, the verses of the Quran said it was good, but the verses of the Quran, they don't disclose why it's a good thing. So that's where we start thinking a little bit and try to figure stuff out here. We say, okay, what happens when someone leaves a good name of themselves behind after they leave this world? Well, first of all, it is a great honor. Yes, the fact that someone is alive, someone is gone, and everyone remembers them in a good way, versus the one who leaves only wealth behind, and that wealth is distributed amongst the inheritors and is forgotten. This itself, yes, is a great honor. Some have said this. Personally, this, I don't think this cuts it too much, because even if the whole world is speaking good of me, yes, and I'm honored after my death, that doesn't really affect my afterlife in a good way. There's got to be something else. I mean, there's some people who might have been evil people who passed away but are hailed as great individuals. Yes. Is that going to change anything for them in their afterlife? No, not really. So what is it? What's going on here? No, I think we need to look a little bit deeper at this matter. So another reason that they've said is that, look, when people remember you in a good way, what happens is they pray for you. They do dua for you. They ask Allah to bless you, your soul, and things like that. This, brothers and sisters, is perfect. This is something good. When people do, people hold Isal Sawab majlises for their deceased. Why? Because the people get together, they recite Quran for that individual, they ask Allah for forgiveness for that individual, etc., etc., etc. You all know better than me how this works, right? So this is wonderful, actually. But a person who has not just left some wealth behind and is gone now, and people devour that person's wealth, and before anything they forget about that person. No one really cares about sending blessings upon that person, asking Allah for forgiveness for that person, and so on. Not really. Yes. So this second reason I think is a good reason. The first one isn't as strong. It's not bad, but it's not as strong as the second one. The third reason that some mention, which is also a good one in my opinion, is that a person who does good, yes, and leaves this dunya, falls under the category of man sanna sunnatan hasanatan kana lahu mithlu ajri man amila biha. Falls under that category. When a person is righteous, when a person is good, when they do good things, they have either left a good name behind of themselves, others will try to be like them and follow in their footsteps. It's as if they have established a sunnah, a tradition that others will try to emulate. Yeah? Look, till today, people shoot something, a ball of paper, they want to shoot it into the trash bin. What do they say? They say Kobe, and they shoot it, right? Now, this is just an example, right? In other words, I am trying to follow his footsteps of making shots. Okay, well, that's not necessarily a good sunnah. It's not a bad sunnah, not a good sunnah, whatever. This is just an example of how people, they emulate. A person's name is enough to trigger something in people. I mean, come on. I mean, when you see a picture of Allama Tabatabai, that calm, gentle mystic and Arif Billah, when you look at him, a picture, a black and white picture of him sitting there just looking down, that is enough to motivate you to try to 1% even be like him. This is what I mean, brothers and sisters. And this falls under that man sanna sunnatan hasanatan. He, with his life, left behind something which was an example that others can take and emulate and follow. Okay? So this is also very important. Sometimes people leave a good name because of just their life and how righteous they live their life. People know that this person would never backbite behind somebody else. And they try to be like that. This is awesome. And sometimes a person leaves a good name not because they necessarily led a totally righteous life, but they did something in this life. I don't know, built a school, whatever it is, right? Which right now in this day and age, that should be our number one priority, in my opinion, is to make sure we have something out there for our kids. It is getting very tough to raise kids properly in this part of the world and just everywhere, actually. This person built a school, helped the school out, and their name stays forever. Okay, well, whoever is benefiting from that, of course, and this is an example, it's a very, I know, cliche and repetitive example, but it is an example at the end of the day of a person leaving a good name behind because of one or two good things that they did. And when people remember, and this becomes an example of man sanna sunnatan hasanatan or baqiyat salihat, whichever one you want to choose. Okay, that's another reason why leaving a good name behind is so important. But also, this is a fourth reason why some have said it's good to leave a good name behind. And what is that? That is that those who come after of the person's descendants and family, relatives, whatever, they gain that good positive credibility. Now, of course, if they take advantage of it, that's a different story. But if they don't take advantage of it, this is something that inspires them to be better. Yes? And helps them to be better, then this also is great. Yes? At the end of the day, brothers and sisters, a person like Allama Tabatabai, he is remembered not because of the wealth he kept to himself, but rather he's remembered because of all the good he left behind. And that is what happened. And that brings about a good name for a person. Yes? And this is what we should be after. Yeah. It's not the ultimate goal, but it comes automatically if we do things the way we're supposed to do them. Imam Ali is reminding those who are doing well, who are well off. He says, look, this is another reason that you should help out because it leaves a good name behind. Now, God forbid, if you don't do what your part, there, God forbid, people will even say bad things about you after you die. God forbid, even God forbid send la'nat on you, you know? Now, whether or not that will work and God will actually acknowledge that la'na is a different story. But what if it happens? Just because you didn't do what you were supposed to do, then I am the one to blame only, no one else. These things, brothers and sisters, Imam Ali is saying, and some of them really are common sense. They are really common sense. It makes sense that, okay, you know, this family, this relative, the relatives make up a unit on its own that needs to be maintained and taken care of and so on. All right. Then the Imam goes on. He says, ألا لا يعدلن أحدكم عن القرابة يرى بها الخصاصة أن يسدها بالذي لا يزيده إن أمسكه ولا ينقصه إن أهلكه. Here the Imam says, look, none of you should ever do such that when they see some of their relatives are struggling with poverty, that they are going to keep something to themselves, yes, and not help that person out, thinking that that which they keep to themselves is going to be that which is going to be a means of more abundance for themselves. Sometimes you think to yourself, you're like, okay, if I give away this amount, if I give away this or that, I'm not going to have it anymore. And if I don't have it, that means I have lost. But if I keep it, I have gained. I have I have, it's more for me. He says, look, and I think he's saying this indirectly, the Imam. He's saying, look, not the amount that you know you have to use to take care of others, that amount, keeping it isn't going to add anything to you, and giving it away is not going to decrease anything from you. Oh my God, my mind is blown right now. This is beautiful. And it echoes what other sources, what other hadiths tell us about how Allah has put the share of others in the wealth of others. Why? This is how the world works. We've talked about this before. Yes, this world, it's not like everyone comes with the exact same talents, potential, and everything like that, and wealth. No, this world is not designed like that. It can't be. A material world is imperfect. Yes, we believe that this is as good as it could have gotten, but it's not perfect for sure. And so there will be ups and downs. Yes, there will be inequality when it comes to certain things, potential talent, wealth, and so on. All right, so the Imam is saying, but look, God, if material world equals imperfection like this, in this sense, or inequality, let's call it, or whatever other word you want to use here, I don't know what else we can use here, to show that not everyone's not identical in everything, right? If Allah put us in something like this, right? And the reason for that is a theological discussion, why he has to put us in a dunya like this. But if he put us somewhere like this, and he can't, let's say, quote unquote, can't change that about this dunya, because that is what a material world is all about. There is one thing he can do though, and that is put barakah in some things and not put barakah in some things. Yes, people will sometimes come to the conclusion that a certain amount that they have has to go somewhere else. If they keep it thinking that this is going to add to me, but if I lose it, it's going to decrease from me, the Imam is saying, no, 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 no. These things are not going to protect you from whatever you fear, or are not going to get you what you actually are aspiring to keep. Yes, that's not how it works. Allah is, at the end of the day, Allah is involved in things as well. It's beautiful. That's beautiful. There's a hadith by Imam Ali that al-barakatu fi mali man ata zakah. Allah puts barakah in the wealth of a person who gives their zakah, but giving is decreasing. Yeah, if you're a secular, materialistic individual, yes, it's decreasing. But all in all, in the bigger picture, somehow, somewhere, it's going to come back more. We believe that. I mean, we don't need to like talk about this too much. ومن يقبض يده عن عشيرته فإنما تقبض منه عنهم يد واحدة وتقبض منهم عنه أيد كثيرة. Yes, we're almost done with this khutbah, by the way. I have gone a little bit over my time, but inshallah we'll be over soon. We'll be done soon. He says, look, and he goes back to the first reason why he said, you got to take care of your relatives if you can. Yes, help them out. Don't be totally indifferent towards them. He says, if you take your hand away from them, yes, you have kept one hand from them. But then they're going to keep their hands from you, meaning their help and aid from you. But here it's not just one hand anymore, it's many hands. Understand, many hands is better than one hand. You're going to need them one day, someday. And I want to say here as well that this applies, as I said before, I think it applies to a community even, to friends, to brothers and sisters in faith, but not as much as blood relatives, without a doubt. Yes, and that's what the Imam is talking about, blood relatives. But I feel we can generalize a little bit more and extend, especially for people who are living in a place where they are a minority within a minority within a minority. Out of all these faiths, we're Muslim. Out of all the different Islamic denominations, we're Shia. Yes, Ithna Ashariya. Yeah, and so we're a minority within minority within my. When this happens, we are like a family, and so I think it does apply here. Of course, not as much as what the Imam, of course, is speaking when he speaks about blood relatives. And finally, he says, وَمَنْ تَلِنْ حَاشِيَتُهُ يَسْتَدِمْ مِنْ قَوْمِهِ الْمَوَدَّةِ. All right, you're taking care of them. Also remember one more thing. O people who are well off, have good akhlaq and demeanor towards your relatives. As a result of that, whoever has good companionship, yes, and suhbah, we say, Hashiyatuhu here they say means suhbah, to be with somebody. Yes, somebody's company. Yes, those who are soft in their company. Yeah, when you accompany them, they're soft, they have good akhlaq. Yastadim min qawmihi al mawadda. Can expect what? This person can expect his people, his tribe, his clan, his family, all these things, he can expect them to be he can expect their love to endure with him or her as well and be with them for a very long lasting time. This khutbah, so going back, began with those who might be struggling, gave them some words of advice, and then went on to remind those who are doing well, are well off, reminded them of certain things as well. As you saw, the Imam didn't even go into akhirah, matters of the akhirah too much. He kept it to the dunya even. He's saying, look, even from a dunyavi perspective, from a common sense perspective, this is something to keep in mind. And inshallah, us brothers and sisters who might also, we can say, are a bigger family, yes, and a community that is like a family because we're a minority living in the West, for example, yeah, we keep that in mind as well, and to an extent apply what the Imam says, even when it comes to our brothers and sisters in faith. Inshallah ta'ala. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you so much, Ajahal. Good night.
Thank you. Good night, brother.